Hey folks, today I have a badly scratched dust cover from a Technics SL-Q33 on my workbench. The cover had deep scratches and, of course, after all these years, very fine scratches from dusting. Overall, it was very dull and no longer looked very nice. To make it easier to work with, I made a small, simple clamping device for the dust cover. For this, I simply screwed a few wooden strips of the correct dimensions onto a board to stabilize the dust cover. To protect the delicate manufacturer's logo on the dust cover, it was covered with adhesive tape. It's important to adhere to the exact dimensions when doing so. Now I could begin removing the deep scratches. I started with 180 grit sandpaper and finished the dry sanding with 240 and 320 grits. The next step is wet sanding with finer grits. I started with 400 grit. First, dampen the surface of the dust cover with water. You can also soak the sandpaper in water. Make sure to clean the surface and remove the sanding dust each time you change grits. When changing grit, you should always stay within a factor of 1.5 to 2. I'm using 800 grit next. To achieve a good result, always use a crosshatch pattern when sanding. First, guide the sander over the dust cover in one direction. Once that pass is complete, simply sand in the opposite direction. Repeat this process several times. The goal is to sand the surface progressively smoother. Each subsequent stage refines the sanding pattern of the previous grit. I used a total of 10 stages, 3 for dry sanding and 7 for wet sanding. For the next step, I thoroughly cleaned the dust cover. There should be no more sanding dust on the surface. This could leave fine scratches and worsen the result. Now we move on to the second part of the detailing process, using a polish specifically designed for mobile phone displays. Of course, there are various products available on the market. Apply the polish to both the polishing pad and the dust cover. Spread it evenly and then begin polishing after attaching the machine. Work in a crosshatch pattern again. Take your time here. The more time you invest, the better the result will be. And after this step, clean the dust cover again to remove the polish. For the final step, I used a polishing disc for a cordless drill. A special polishing wax with a high grease content for plastics is applied to it. Then, using moderate pressure and a low speed, the dust cover is polished to a high gloss. After the final polishing step, a thorough rinse under running water was performed. However, this did not remove the grease. Therefore, a further cleaning step was carried out using alcohol wipes. This also removed the polish additives and grease. Finally, the entire dust cover is rubbed dry with lint-free cloths to remove any remaining streaks. Let's look at the result. The effort was definitely worth it. The dust cover is crystal clear again, almost like new. The deep scratches as well as the micro scratches are gone. Look at the clarity of the dust cover. The pattern of the substrate is crystal clear. Not a single cloudiness is visible anymore. If the dust cover only has very light scratches, dry sanding can be skipped. I've even had success with just the 2 polishing steps. In any case, the player is a real eye-catcher again, and that's exactly why I love this hobby. Not just listening to music, but bringing music back to life. For more reels of hi-fi goodies from the good old days, subscribe to my channel and give me a like.